you beautiful friends and followers. Today we're going to talk about Libra new moon and what that means. And this Libra new moon is along with a solar eclipse, an annular solar eclipse. So I'm going to explain what that means and a little bit about eclipses. We're going to talk about some of the things that Libra governs. So that's relationships and balance. How do you balance something in your life that's perhaps not in balance? And if you're interested, I'm going to share some of my experiences as I was called to be a juror. And it's most appropriate that it would have occurred in this time of Libra when we're talking about fairness. Libra also governs the kidneys and the adrenal glands. So we'll talk a bit about that and how your yoga and postures can support that. So Libra energy is represented by the scales. So this new moon, we are seeking to rebalance what in our lives might be out of balance. Do we need to do less and be more often? Are we eating more of one food type and need to balance it with other varieties? Are we spending a lot of time with just one person and need to share ourselves with others? Are we enjoying the couch and need to get out and move the body a bit more? Take some time out to think about what you are doing with your everyday life and consider if there is anything there that needs adjusting to come back to balance. Libra is governed by Venus, the planet of love and harmony. And we are also seeking to enjoy harmonious environments, company and activities. Choose happy connection and events and enjoy the energy. Do we need to adjust our relationship with our significant other, if we have one? Is there a significant other who needs a bit more attention to blossom into something more fulfilling? How do we need to adjust the energy within so that we can be the best version of ourselves for that significant other? Or do you want to rearrange your surroundings to make it feel more comfortable for you? Are there artworks, jewellery, new clothes you wish to create or invest in? Libra is about relationships, usually with a significant other. Despite the wisdom that comes with experience, we can still be blind to our own shortcomings and issues when it comes to make a serious commitment with a partner. Yet most people crave a close connection with a significant other. Many choose to remain single rather than commit to a relationship because they are frightened of making the wrong choice. And often those are lessons we can learn about ourselves, and changing something about our own behavior can make a huge difference to the people we attract into our lives and to our own happiness. It was interesting and pleasing to hear recently from a young man with whom I have conversations from time to time that he was taking his wife and small baby away for their first wedding anniversary. What a loving and thoughtful activity. When we have a relationship, it needs feeding and nurturing. What better way to do that than by going away from everyday activities and having time to invest in each other, remembering those aspects of the other that attracted us in the first place. Maybe you have encountered Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, written by John Gray, in which he explains how men and women have different behaviors in response to the same stimuli. As a relationship counselor, he has been able to help many people resolve relationship issues. John has a website and many YouTube clips. You might like to check him out. I've provided those in the notes for you. And as part of my research to provide some other third-party resources, I found this about a lady called Esther Perel. Belgian psychotherapist Esther Perel is the New York Times best-selling author of the The State of Affairs and Mating in Captivity. Her celebrated TED Talks have garnered more than 20 million views, and she is also the host of the popular podcast, Where Should We Begin? I'll give her connection details below as well. Recently, I chatted with Dave Elliott, whom I met at a business networking group, Business Expansion Network. He's a relationship coach rather than a counselor. And as a relationship coach, I teach people the skills and awareness that make the difference between success and struggle, he says. The difference between coaching and therapy is that in therapeutic intervention, problems are addressed from point of origin, that is your childhood usually. In coaching, I focus on what you need, what you want, and what prevents, and then I create a plan to help you achieve your goals elegantly, effectively, and efficiently. Along the way, I provide teaching, support, encouragement, and real-time feedback that keeps you accountable for the result you want to create. End of quote. In our conversation, which covered a wide range of experiences, he commented that there are times when we need to be tender. There are times when we are tender, when we need to be tough. And there are times when we're tough and we ought to be tender. So think of your own experiences with a partner who has behaved unkindly towards you. What could you have done differently? Or were you in a narcissistic relationship? It's one thing to understand the origins of behavior. It's another to have the strategy to address the problems arising. And that's where Dave claims he can help you. I myself experienced a narcissistic relationship for many years before a major event shifted my life path. And in order to manage my way through the trauma, I recorded much of what was happening along the way and my responses to the situation. In 2014, I released Free to Fly, a book about those experiences. If you're interested in a copy, I still have a few copies left, so please message me. It's $25, including postage and packaging and posting. I'll leave the details in the notes. This new moon is a powerful solar eclipse. Eclipses occur twice a year and always in pairs, sometimes threesomes. Not always is the sun totally occluded by the moon, and that is a partial eclipse. This time we have an annular eclipse where the sun will appear like a ring of fire around the moon's shadow. Annular from the Latin annulus, meaning ring. The Babylonians discovered that a lunar eclipse could only occur if there's a solar eclipse, and a lunar eclipse would occur either 2 weeks before or 2 weeks after a solar eclipse. Lunar eclipses were much easier to observe, but they figured out that there were also solar eclipses. They just were not visible from that geographic location. The lunar eclipse associated with this solar eclipse occurs on October the 28th. So check out the path of the eclipse. I've provided the link below. It's not really visible in Australia this time, but just because we can't see it doesn't mean to say the energy doesn't exist. The path of the eclipse actually runs from the northwest of the US right through the center towards the southeast, coming out around Mexico, New Mexico, I believe. Can't remember, but you have a look and see on the map. The Babylonians also discovered that eclipses actually belong to families or cycles and have a pattern of occurrence. These patterns can take more than 1,000 years to complete. And the Babylonians called these eclipse cycles Saros cycles. And these cycles repeat every 18 to 19 years, starting at either the north or the south pole. The eclipses move towards the equator. and then away to the opposite pole to experience the last eclipse of the cycle. And this whole process may take 1,000 years. Bernadette Brady, an Australian author, has published a very interesting book called The Eagle and the Lark, in which she explores the eclipse cycles in detail. As a series moves through its cycles, it produces a similar expression every time. Unlike repeating transits of planets against our natal charts, eclipses affect different parts of our charts every time. If you're interested in more help for this, just send me a message and I'll see if I can help. For this particular eclipse, Mars is square to Pluto, causing enormous power, anger, and force, especially if the eclipse is on a sensitive point in your chart. If you have personal planets around 21 degrees of Libra or Aries, you are likely to feel this energy. And you may also feel an impact if you have planets at 21 degrees of Cancer or Capricorn. Inverted commas. The individual experiencing this series will find that huge obstacles suddenly clear, or a pending potential crisis will suddenly manifest and move through very quickly. End of quote. I find it extraordinarily interesting that our Prime Minister has chosen this particular time for the Voice referendum. It's causing so much division and strife in our population. And you know what? The New Zealand government has also chosen this time for a general election. I really query the wisdom of setting this time for those sorts of events, using eclipse time for those events. Things that have been hidden are often revealed at the time of an eclipse. What will we see in Australia and New Zealand in the coming weeks following this eclipse? Again, I give you the reference for you to check the path of the eclipse if you'd like to. You won't be able to see it from Australia. Now, what about some yoga? As the energy shifts in our environment, I adjust some of the postures and sequences that I teach in my yoga classes. The mudra for harmony seems to be just right at the moment, not only for one-on-one relationships, but also for the dire situation in the Middle East. I would love to see peace and harmony in that part of the world. Look for a short video on that mudra shortly to be uploaded onto my YouTube channel. A posture or asana that is particularly pertinent for Libra energy is Dhanurasana, the bow, where the focus is on the adrenals. And these are the glands that sit just above our kidneys, in the middle of our backs, and manage our fight-flight responses. Our adrenals also support our strength and determination to achieve the goals we set ourselves. So if you're interested, check out my yoga class for Libra on YouTube. Now, recently I listened to Pam Gregory, an astrologer, a very accomplished astrologer from England I follow quite often. And she recently released a video, and I'll give you the details below, in which she encourages everyone to set aside 10 minutes every Sunday evening at 7 o'clock UK time to consciously send peace and love out into the world, to consciously be in love and light. Now, we in Australia cannot synchronize with that UK time, but we could set aside 10 minutes every Sunday evening at 7 o'clock, Australian Eastern Standard Time, to meditate on peace, love, and harmony in our world. Our energy is much more powerful than we have been led to believe. And when we all work together, the energy isn't just doubled or tripled by the number of people who participate, but it has an exponential increase in power. So what do you think? Would you like to just quietly and gently participate She's not leading anything. She's just suggesting we all set aside 10 minutes at 7 o'clock every Sunday and meditate on peace, harmony, and love. And just as a note, she had released this video well before this most recent strife in the Middle East. Now, I'm going to just share a little bit about my jury duty experience with you. Pertinent to the current astrological energy, I was called for jury duty for 2 weeks from the 26th of September. And despite being eligible to be excused, because I'm supposedly an old girl, I moved through to the next selection stage and registered my details as requested. I was quite concerned about this commitment, as I had Bailey, the dog from next door, in my charge. And how would I manage him when I was away all day if I had to go to court? But you know what? I needn't have worried, because the universe has a perfect way of orchestrating all sorts of events. So for the first week of my jury duty, I received a text message late in the afternoon informing me that I was not required for the jury duty the following day. It was a day-to-day notification, which was not all that easy for, planning events, but look, that's how it was. Eventually, on the Friday afternoon, I received a notification to appear at the appointed district court the following Tuesday morning. Monday was a public holiday here. Bailey would then be back with his owner. I had made my diary free from commitments except for the chair yoga class I teach on Tuesdays. And unfortunately, I hadn't been able to organise a replacement teacher. So I had to cancel the class. I wasn't very happy about that. But anyway, that's how it goes. On Tuesday, I made my way to the court and sat with maybe 50 others while we watched a video of the expected process. That's very helpful. A number of people there requested and were granted an excusal. The rest of us filed into the courtroom, and from a barrel, the judge's assistant drew names. The defendant was entitled to challenge any selection and used up his entitlement quite quickly. Eventually, a jury of 7 women and 5 men were chosen, and the rest of us were free to leave. Yep, I was paid a bit, as no doubt were all the others. It was an interesting experience. I believe jury duty is an important part of our civil duty. Our legal system views any alleged defendant innocent unless proven guilty. To have that guilt determined by an impartial group of fellow citizens is part of our justice system. I'm happy to fulfill that duty if and when required. Have you been called for jury duty? Would you like to comment on your experience? Now, do you know what a gnome is? A gnome? Those little characters that sometimes we have in the garden, a garden gnome? Josie from my chair yoga group shared this one with me. So a gnome is guarding naturally over Mother Earth. Well, ladies and gents, that's all for this time. If you have enjoyed what I've talked about, please share this with other people and understand also that sometimes my videos have been censored by the YouTube police. So if you want to find out more, you may be better off checking out my website or being on my newsletter list, mailing list. Have a great new moon and solar eclipse in Libra. I look forward to hearing from you about what happens for you. Bye now.